So, pillow down, ankles in the middle of the pillow, feet, heels, shoulder width apart, and we'll rock pushing out. And if you're in doubt about where the patella is, just slide up, make sure they're pushed in. You can also see how close are to the top of the table. You don't want them too far down or off the top. You can see how their arms are. And so Arista, seems like you could maybe move just slightly to your left where your arms fit a little bit better. There, get your elbows in there. Okay. Then we step to our left. Standing at their waist, fold your hands over your lower dantian. Your feet should be shoulder width apart and knees unlocked. We'll take a few respirations to ground and center ourselves. Perfectly okay to have your thighs resting against the table. As we open our eyes, hands fold away from the dantian and place them on your partner's low back and sacrum. Make contact, letting your hands melt onto their body, into their body, and hopefully your hands are warm. Get in touch with their breathing. Match your breathing to theirs. And then when we're ready, we'll start the rocking. So although we don't want it to feel hurried, we don't want to dawdle, because that, until you get them up to speed, it's actually not all that relaxing. It feels kind of funny, but once they're up to speed, it just feels like, oh, we could do this forever. And the whole body should be engaged. We'll check that out by looking at their feet. They should be moving. Their shoulders should be moving, and you may be able to see it right up to their occiput. Once you're satisfied that the whole body's engaged, we can start up with the left hand, right up the spine, right up the, what's that channel?
Governing vessel.
The governing vessel. Chinese name is? Dumai. We go right to the base of the skull, then out over the far shoulder and down. Heel of your palm now on the erectors. What's that channel? The bladder, that inner bladder line. We come all the way down to our right hand and then come across. So step back out of your way so you can come up more on the side of the torso. Take it easy. We'll come right along the lateral edge of the scapula into the axillary fold and the shoulder joint right up to the acromion. Come across the top of the shoulder and then down the erectors on this side. Left hand gets back to the right hand, it's going to take over the rocking. So now the right hand, I want you to take the heel of your palm right to the edge of the sacrum. And we'll just kind of press right along there and then down through the glutes, past the ischial tuberosity, onto the thigh. And all the way down to the popliteal fossa. Come across to the near side. Make sure you're right at the fossa. Then start up. As you get to the sit bones, just pivot your fingers up onto the glutes and then angle into the edge of the sacrum. And then we're going to do that again. This time lean over, get a little more downward pressure, a little more weight into it. You're not pushing, it's just your weight. So you have to lean over. And it's still not a lot. It's not huge, but it's more than it was. Hopefully anybody can tell that it's different, that it is more. That it needn't be a lot. Okay, we get back to the sacrum and we're just back to rocking, right where we started. What happens next? Colon rock. Which foot goes back? The left foot. And both hands come to the side, so get low. So your dantian is level and we turn the left hand sideways so it fits in that space. Right hand doing most of the pushing on the TFL. Then maybe let's close our eyes for a second. Really try to feel with our left hands. Feel the colon in there. Think about colon in there. Then what comes next? Iliac rock. So just step up to the top of the table. Change the angle of your hands. Right hand on the trochanter. Left hand on the iliac crest. And watch their heel. You should be able to see that leg get a little bit longer and it just swings around. And what's next? Lumbar rock. Just stand up and hands in a saddle right across the low back. Full contact, not 2-point contact. And we'll work up to the rib cage and the kidneys. Think about the relationship between the kidneys and the bladder. Back down to the iliums. Back up to the rib cage. Back down to the iliums. Okay, now what happens? Kinbiki, and so Kinbiki should start down at L5. So the iliac crests are up a little higher than that. So you got to slide in and down to the sacrum to start finger Kinbiki. But then we're just headed up the erectors. Make sure, so your pads are in the middle of the erectors and that you're pushing and pulling back and forth across. So you feel both the lateral and the medial edges. And of course it's wider at the bottom and narrower at the top. So as you go, it changes a little bit, but the basic movement is the same. And by the time you're halfway up, the rock has all but disappeared. You keep stepping headward as you need to keep your hands and your work right in front of you. And as we funnel into the narrowest part between the spine and the scapula, going a little more circularly, rotary motion. And then as we get to the top of the back, we step around the corner of the table, slide our hands to the shoulder and knead with both hands. If they're looking toward you, you can get their neck too. If not, don't worry about it, just get the shoulder. It's just a transition move. You may want to straighten their shirt out. There, put your thumbs down right at the top of the back and we'll start thumb Kinbiki. So just use the corner of the table so you can lean over. The secret here is the lean across and get good weight into these points. It feels good. And we'll work down in this position as far as you can, but we're looking to get to the crest of the thoracic curve, and then we're going to step around the table, around their elbow. Left knee goes up first. We get up on the table, align our thumbs. So remember, we're in a V with the thumb tips pointed toward the spine. Then lean into it and continue. And of course, all that just takes a second. So now with thumb Kinbiki, you don't go circular there. Back and forth works fine because we've got more pressure. So we're just going to go back and forth at each vertebral level for, I don't know, 3-4 times, and then slide hop to the next vertebral level. And so we got lots of overlap. And it feels basically continuous to our partner. And I'll just remind partners that your job is to stay awake and feel what's going on, learn. And we learn as much receiving as we do giving. So you're trying to pay attention. Meanwhile, practitioners, you're just walking on your knees to keep your work in front of you. And it takes 2 or 3 times longer to come back down with thumb kanbiki than it did to go up with finger kanbiki. And remember, it's not just your thumbs, your whole hand and your fingers are helping support your weight. As you get into the lumbars, the rock comes back without you having to do anything differently, I hope. It should just come back automatically. We're going to get to L5 and the sacrum. We're going to keep going, but now you want to turn your thumbs end on end, funnel in between the PSIS, or medial to the PSIS. So now you know you're over the SI joint. As you come out inferior to that, you widen a little bit, again, to the, just grazing along the edge of the sacrum. Right down to the bottom, S4 level. The rock is definitely back. We're going to stop the rock with our double side-by-side palm press, and then slowly let go. Stepping down. We'll keep our right hand on them, on contact, as we walk around to the top. We're then going to sort of assist them in their turning their head, but you just tell them to turn their head. But you're going to help with hair and getting it out of their face and squeezing their neck. So just think about that. That's part of the kata. And the only time you wouldn't do it is if for some reason they had like just changed. Continuing to your stepping to the left, we'll come around to their right side, down to the sacrum, and start rocking. Now we know how they rock. Won't take long to get them up to speed, and we'll just slide right back into colon rock. Iliac rock. And lumbar rock. So twice we'll go up and down. And some people are longer through the lumbars than others, so it can take more or less time, but just a nice solid grab saddle of across the lumbars and slide into finger kanbiki. Kind of notice when the rock goes away. And when it feels like it's time to go circular, right up to the top of the back, think T1. We're stepping around the corner of the table and kneading the shoulder. Far side with both hands. Straightening their clothing, thumbs down. Start thumb kanbiki. up first this time, then the left. And while you're getting up, it's fine to stop. And check that your hand placement and alignment is good before you shift any weight into it. And just pick it right back up. Sometimes I'll even back up a vertebral level or two if it feels appropriate. Back and forth at each vertebral level. And what feels like a reasonable amount of time. But we also don't want to get stuck. We want to kind of keep moving along. So there's plenty of opportunity to both linger where it feels necessary and still not get trapped. Hit the sacrum and turn your thumbs. End on end gets you through the SI joint area. And actually that still works fine for the edge of the sacrum too. Or you can go back to the V. Get down to the bottom. Double palm press. Stop the rock. And then oftentimes I'll kind of wait for an inhale to come back out. But sometimes that one is one that you could also sort of let go with an exhale. What comes next? Jiaji point. So we're staying on the table. We'll just step up on our knees, find what feels to be the middle of their back, and thumbs are still end on end, and we're just going to give our thumbs a little rest with a light pass and seeing if our spacing works out. And then back to our start point, adjusting it as necessary. This time, let's begin with a conscious inhale. Everybody inhale. And then we'll press with the exhale. Now the first one is probably the strongest one because our thumbs are close together. And let them breathe you out. Slide to the next position. And probably already it's spread out enough. Following their breathing. And of course they're following you too. It's natural to breathe out with pressure. So you're just coordinating, you're just timing it together, but you take your cue from them. As you get away from that center point, you've got to bend your elbows, make your arms more like chair legs. So nice and solid, but you're stabilizing a lot with your chest. Also, if they're looking to their left, you may need to curl your fingers up so you don't wind up in their face. And we hit top and bottom. Back to the center, come across to your side of their spine, and we'll do another light pass. This time the light pass is a little more though. You don't want to make it too light, but you do want to let your thumbs rest at least a little bit. Then we'll go back to pass number 4. Let's breathe in together and start with the exhale. Let them breathe you out, slide. bracing with your elbows bent. And we're just looking to get to the top of the back, T1, and hit the sacrum, L5. Now pivot headward, leave your left leg on the table, drop your right foot to the floor, slide your knee up to their armpit. We're going to knead the shoulders, both sides together. No thumbs yet, just the fingers. We're trying to rest our thumbs a little bit, just the heel of your palm and the fingers first. Then thumbs go down and we'll start thumb circles. And now we want to lean toward their spine, make sure that left thumb gets as much pressure and contact as the right. And so that means you can't be sitting down on your heel. You've got to be able to slide that left leg in order to keep your arms out in front of you. And they're basically straight, not locked, but straight. And you keep that angle all the way down. So it's not seiza or half seiza. You got to be able to slide. Your toes can be on or off the table. So especially if you're barefoot, you'll tend to stick a little bit more. If you've got socks on, it is easier to slide. So that main thing is just watch your hands and arms, that they stay out in front of you, that they stay straight. And so this takes a while to come down, not as much as thumb kanbiki, but maybe more like finger kanbiki. But like thumb kanbiki, we're gonna hit the sacrum and continue. So just inside the PSISs and then along the edge of the sacrum. We get to the bottom. What happens now? We're going to pivot on the thumbs and we're going to squeeze and release the skin pad over the sacrum. Just kind of randomly moving around, the equivalent of our knuckle massage, our knuckle scrub in the Dao Yin. So you don't need to go laterally, just stay on the sacrum and then scoot up a little bit. We'll start up the spine, right there at the lumbosacral junction with our skin rolls. So just rolling the skin up. If they feel pretty loose and easy, you can roll the roll. That feels good and helps you linger in it. And meanwhile, you got to slide on your leg back up to the armpit. And then we get to the top, we're going to jump back to the bottom, and we're going to, sometimes to really get a good skin roll, it's easiest skin on skin. But now we're going to lever it up, put it down, lever up, lever, and so the first one was me, but that one was you. And then you got to put the shirt back down, and at that point you're into the thoracics probably, and get a nice lever. So that's levering there. The heel of your palm is the fulcrum there. We get to the top and take your leg off. We're going to slide our arm down inside their arm, left arm inside their arm, and just draw their arm up onto the table. Then we're going to look, what direction are they facing? We need them to be looking away from us. So she's already in that position. I don't have to have her turn, but you may. Then both hands on this side, I'm going to knead that shoulder, and now for sure I can get the neck too, since she's looking away. So I want to warm up both of those areas, the traps. And then left hand releases, comes down to the wrist and unlocks their elbow. Right foot should be forward, and you're pivoted so you're facing more towards you're facing their head and the top of the table, and your right hand goes out into the tricep squeeze and twist. So now your thumb is just part of your hand. And the 4 fingers on the other side, you get a good wrap around with your hand, and you just grab the muscle group and twist it around the humerus, into your fingers, into the table. Just make sure the heel of your palm misses the humerus and the ulnar nerve. So we're going to do this 3 times, once for each of the yang channels. Each time you should feel that medial epicondyle. There's your stop point. And this 3rd time we're going to pivot around it. Now we're facing the table and the spine and the torso. We're just going to start our palm presses. Down the forearm. The left hand's pressing too, from the wrist to the fingertips. Put that on the floor, don't forget it. Okay, now you may have gotten ahead of me already. As the right hand gets to the wrist, step back with your left and pivot the right thumb to the pisiform, and we'll pick the, what channel are we working here? The heart channel. So from the pisiform right on out the little finger. So there, your right foot's forward again. Then we'll step up, unlock the elbow a little bit more so we can get into the median compartment. What channel is that? Triple burner? How about pericardium on the yin side? Yeah, and we get down to the wrist, left foot steps back, pivot. This time your thumb goes to the carpal tunnel, and we'll continue the thumb pressing right on out the middle finger. Meanwhile, the left hand can hold other fingers out of the way, if they're in the way. And then stepping up, unlock the elbow a little bit more, so we can get all the way to the radial compartment and what channel is in there. And so now your right thigh needs to be right against the table and their arm to help hold it on the table. It doesn't feel like it'll fall off. What channel is this on there? The lung channel on the radial side. And this time, a little bit different. As we get to the hand, we step back, it's the same. But the right hand's going to go to the outside to hold the arm on, and the left hand is going to pick up right at the base of the thumb, seeing our eminence, and work on out to the end of the lung channel. What point is that? Lung 11. Now when I'm done, here my hands are, I'm on both sides of their hand. I'm just going to straighten their arm out close to their body, and that takes care of that. Then I'm stepping headward. Left hand goes to that mid-thoracic area as I walk around. Left foot inside the table leg, right foot back. More central above their head. Right hand on the back of their head, holds the hair out of the way. And just a little bit of traction. Left thumb is at the neck-shoulder junction. And we're going to sit back into our right foot and then push our thumb into their shoulder to start the first of our 3 lines across the top. This is the posterior line. So the back part of the trapezius, and we'll work to the acromioclavicular V. What point's there in the V? Large intestine 16. Now back to the neck, and we're going to do the line on the crest. And right in the middle there, we go through gallbladder 21, shoulder well, and out to the V. Back to the neck. This time you definitely got to turn your thumb tip toward the table and wrap around. Feel that anterior edge of the trapezius. But you're still definitely on the trapezius and on the shoulder. You do that till you hit the clavicle, then turn your thumb sideways and funnel on into the V. All the while you're using your legs to power that. So now slide the right leg up, step back with the left, bring your right foot around inside the table leg, and check that you're facing their neck. Then left hand holds the shoulder down and out of the way. Right thumb is going to work. Sit back into your left foot and push off the floor. Now, the right fingers have a little job of stabilization to do, so we're not pushing their head or rolling it over. As you hit the occiput, you should be between the two trapezii. Then back to the shoulder in the nuchal notch there. Back to the shoulder, we'll pick up the next line. Just a finger width, a little finger width, closer to the table. Should be right in the middle of the trapezius. There, and we just hit the occiput, and it's bone and muscle. Then back to the shoulder, we're going to find that anterior edge. Again, thumb wraps around, but definitely still on the back, not around onto their throat, not even close. And this time when we hit the occiput, you should be in another big hollow between muscles. This time it's between the trapezius and the SCM. What point's in there? Or what channel is it? Gallbladder. Gallbladder. Anybody? 20, yes. Now, stepping back to the top of the table, we'll hook our fingers on the occiput. So your middle fingers basically are probably right there in gallbladder 20 is a pretty good hold. Sit back with your sit bones to get some traction, get some length through the cervicals. And just a few of those, then we'll stand up and we're going to start our scalp massage squeezes up the back of the head. And angle down behind the ear and around the top of the ear, round to the front. Then straighten out and come straight up the sides. Fan your fingers out and we'll work up the side of the head till we feel that ridge. And you can hold on to that ridge. We'll start working the top of the head with our thumbs. Governing vessel first, and we're zigzagging as we zig back. We're closer to the ear, should be bladder channel. I'm going to get around here. And then zigging back again. We get the gallbladder and actually the last bag. Still gallbladder. Okay, turn to the right and your right hand is going to wrap around their forehead. Then your left hand is going to scoop underneath their hair, kind of wad it up, and fingers toward their ears, which now should have control of front and back. Pick up and turn. Sweep their hair out of their face and squeeze their neck. And we're going to start at the eyebrow this time. Did I skip something there? Anyway, we get to the hairline. We'll follow the hairline down. I think I did just jump over something there. Right, now we come around the top of the ear and behind, and straighten out and come straight up the sides. Just squeezing and releasing, squeezing and releasing. We get to the ridge, hold on with your finger pads, and we'll start with the thumbs on the governing vessel again. Just squeeze and move to the next place. And zigzagging back and forth. Working back towards your fingers, toward their ear. And again, turning to the right, we're going to work down the back of the head till we get to the occiput. Now, slide your right foot back, and with it, your right hand goes to the other side of the occiput. We're going to pull traction again. This time you got more traction with that foot back, but same basic principle, just hook on and lengthen. And now, right foot steps up inside the table leg. Lean over, scoop their right arm up onto the table. Slide your left foot back, and that drags your right thumb into position. Your left hand should basically already be there. Sit back into that left foot and start your 3 lines across the top of the shoulder. Just a nice smooth in and out. We're not following their breathing, but it has that quality of in and out are more or less equal. So as said before, I would say on average about 6 presses per line gets you across the top of the shoulders. It's okay if it's 1 or 2 more than that. Probably don't want to be much less than that. And of course it depends a little bit on how big, how broad-shouldered they are. So that 3rd line, anterior edge. And then turn your thumb sideways. Follow the clavicle to the V. Slide the left foot up, step back with the right, bring the left foot around inside, face their neck. Right hand has got the shoulder, left thumb and right foot are working. 3 lines on the neck. Can you get around here? We need a longer extension cord, huh?
Well, the battery's dying. It doesn't last that long. The charge.
Yeah. But if we had a longer extension cord, look like that thing could be unraveled. Once he's got it draped up over the angle where you could sort of see the thumbs. Okay, we hit gallbladder 20. We're stepping back to the top of the table. And so right foot was just back. Now we want the left foot back. And we're going to press the lines across the top of the shoulder bilaterally this time. Pushing off the floor, pushing off that back foot, there's where the power comes from. Your thumbs, then, your arms are relaxed enough, they're just transferring the weight into their shoulders. They're relaxed enough to really feel what feels like the right amount of pressure for this person. So you can be much more sensitive using your leg strength. Okay, all 3 lines complete, and we're all 3 end at the V. We step up, bring your thumbs in on either side of T1, and we're going to work down the Jaji Valley. So your thumb tips point toward you. And we'll do 5 presses down to T5, mid-thoracics, then up and out. Thumb tips now point toward their spine, so your thumb pads fit in the intercostal spaces, and we're on the inner bladder line. And 5 or 6 presses, then up and out. Turn your thumb tips toward the top of the table again. We're out to the outer bladder line and pressing along the medial edge of the scapula. That line. Then drop your hands, they pretty much fill that space. Stepping to your right, we'll pivot Rotates the hands to the left shoulder, and we start kneading the shoulder and the neck. And that's our transition to tricep squeezing twist. This time it's the right hand comes down, unlocks their elbow from the wrist burst, and the left hand starts right into the triceps. Okay. So our minimum 3 rounds of this. Just making sure you don't compress the ulnar nerve, but you want to get a good stretch. Really twist those muscles around. Make sure you're not using your thumbs. It's just part of your hand. And so in this case, on this side, so now your left foot should be forward, and you're kind of lunging into the foot as well as the hand. It's when you're not in the right position that you tend to want to use your thumb. Now we'll turn and face the forearm and continue with our palm presses down the forearm. So pick up the heart channel is the most exposed, so we'll do that one first. Right hand pressing from the wrist to the fingertips. As the left hand gets to the wrist, step back with your right foot, pivot, left thumb to the pisiform, and finish the hand and finger right out to the tip. Then we step up, unlock the elbow a little bit more, pericardium. Get to the wrist, right foot back, pivot your thumb into the carpal tunnel, and continue on the pericardium channel, right on out to the tip. And then third one, bend the elbow a little bit more. Now you need your left thigh in place to keep the arm on the table. You're reaching all the way over to the radial compartment for the lung channel. And stepping back with the right foot, pivot the left hand to the outside of the table and continue the thumb pressing with the right thumb right on out to lung 11. Now this time we want the arms off the table, so I just grab their hand and take the arm off the table, making sure that the crook of the elbow is right there at the edge. Right hand reaches across and can do the same thing with the other arm. Then right hand on their sacrum, left knee up on the table. Left hand can go behind their head as you swing your right foot over. Stand up and get your toes up close. Put your palms down, fingers out. They're right at that about T5 area. And leave space. Your wrists should not be together. You want at least, I'd say, 3 fingers between them so your heels of your palms are on the erectors. And then we'll palm press down the back. And the last one is right there. Heels of the palms are just off the edge of the sacrum. Then fingers are at the TFLs. We'll start the body toss there and walk back up the sides, right along the lateral edges of the scapulas. This is another good point to have them turn their head, and they don't have to, but really a good idea. And then we'll even out the shoulders, smooth out their shirt, and then thumbs, find what you guesstimate to be T3, slide out to the scapula, should be its narrowest. halfway back should put your thumb pads over the crest of the erectors. Jiggle a little bit, find the nearest intercostal space. Then line your thumb joints up, make sure you're good. So make sure your toes are up as close to their armpits as you can. And then we're going to breathe in together and sit down squarely into your feet. Don't pitch forward or back. Arms are straight, thumbs are straight, and we're off and running. Just trying to press at each vertebral level. Approximating it is okay. Doesn't matter if it's perfect, but you can tell the difference between an intercostal space and rib generally. So just kind of stay with their breathing, work together. As soon as you're able to get your elbows and are braced against the inside of your knees, gives you a lot of stability. At a certain point, though, you're going to need to step back. Remember to just step back with 1 foot per respiration, and it's easy to not lose their breath. And of course, you're breathing in and out with them. You can maintain this stance for 2 or 3 presses and slide the other one back. Continue. So that system lets you really be nice and smooth. When you get to the PSIS, you got a funnel inside. It's not much of a deviation, and then it's going to feel bony for 2 or 3 presses. And when you come out the bottom, you should be right along the edge of the sacrum. I'm going to get down to S4, so basically 4 of those. Then up and in to approximate the first sacral foramen, and we got 4 more presses for the 1st through 4th foramen. And remember, they're medial to the SI joint, and so that first line that we did. So that's 8 presses, and those can often go a little faster. You don't have to follow the breathing, but now we put the hands down on either side of the sacrum and really squat down, deliver some good pressure to those SI joint ligaments. Then pushing up out of your legs, shift to your left foot, leave your right hand on your sacrum as you bring your right knee behind your foot. Then the left foot can step down, and you can bring the right one down and swing around. Both hands are on the sacrum. What do we do now? Rock? Percussions, yes. And the first one is the cupped hand percussion. So get your rhythm, then drift out to the side, far side, get the TFLs, then start up. Listen to the sound you're making. Go out to the shoulder and the deltoids with the one hand. Step back with your right foot. Keeps that out of the way so you can come down to the right place. You want to stay this side of the spine. Now step up to cross over and form your clean beaks. We're right there at S4, and we'll start up right along the edge of the sacrum and the SI joint, and then the crest of the erectors. So make sure your wrists are what's moving, what's articulating, and that you land on all 5 fingertips. Tee out across the shoulder to the V. First the far side, then across to your side. Then back in and down, right along those points we just pressed, crest of the erectors. all the way down to the bottom of the sacrum. This time it's raindrops, so we need to step out, elbows out, and we'll start right there along the edge of the sacrum. And come up the near side. Get to the top of the back, slide your right foot in and step inside their left elbow, then hang over. Go across and down. Make sure your elbows are out. Palms face each other, and it's your radius that's turning. Your hands are not passing each other up on the up and down plane. They're just rotating. Palms face each other all the way to S4 now. Dot cracks. Hook your thumbs, and we'll start right there at S4. Again, the elbows have to be out. Get across the top of the shoulders as best you can without snagging hair. And down the near side. All the way to the bottom of the sacrum now. Hitchhikers, step back. Get your arms now parallel. Relax your wrists, curl your fingers, start the motion in the air. And as you go down, squiggle that right foot back even further so that your arms are parallel to the floor and table. And we're going up to erectors simultaneously this time. Make sure you land. Shifting your weight to the left foot, drag the right one in. And at the top, we'll tee out across the shoulders. I usually do that a couple times at least. Then reach back with your right toes and start back down. And just squiggling, sliding that foot back as you need to establish the right height. So that's where actually socks are easier to slide in. But the downside is sometimes socks are too slippery. Okay, what happens now? Stand up, clap the two hands together, land on the sacrum, and we'll start going clockwise with our air pillows. And we're working up the inner bladder lines. Make the back of your hands soft, keep the air in the middle of your hands, in the middle of the cups, but it of course squirts out each time you land. Don't neglect the top of the shoulders, and that actually helps you widen your circle. Now we'll start counterclockwise down, and we're picking up the outer bladder lines. So that's the medial border of the scapulas. Land. Let the shock wave go through their body, right into the table, into the earth. And we get back to the sacrum. We start to slow it down and come to a definite end. Step up, turn your hands over. What do we do now? Okay, yeah, but to start that, we're gonna rock. So just nice flat hands, we get them up to speed, then put your thumbs down there, and we're gonna press along that SI joint and edge of sacrum line once again. So it's just short down to the bottom of the sacrum and back up. And then we start lateral lines. And so which foot goes back? Right?
Left.
How about the other right? Let's go left. We'll see why in a sec. So this first line, kind of arc, following the crest of the erectors. I mean, not the crest of the erectors, the gluteal attachments. And then with the second line, we kind of straighten out all the way out to the TFLs and just spring back to the edge of the sacrum, catching that next line. So make sure that you're not primarily pushing with your thumbs. Push with your hands. Let your thumbs follow and they stick out. So at the end of line 4, we feel the trochanter. Thumbs turn into a V, and we start down the gallbladder channel. And so here's where we walk the right foot down. I might want to get that, Dave. To their knee. And then stand up. We should be facing the knee. We go into our duck bill, squeeze and lift and rock for the hamstring compartment. Right up to the gluteal fold, back down. And feel the epicondyles of the femur, and then back up. Good, grab full contact. It's not pinchy, squeezy. It's just wrap around whole contact through here. Now what happens? The palm press. And so which hand is down? The right hand. So we're pivoting headward. That just rotates. And so now it's your right hand that's closest to them. So that's the one we want. Then left hand comes on top. It's kind of a crossed palm thing, but one palm right over the other, and we're pushing off the right toes. We're going to weight up to our shoulders and down through our arms into our palms. Nice firm pressure on the hamstrings. And that feels really good at the top, but you got to lighten up as you get close to the back of the knee. But bring it all the way to the fossa, then back to the gluteal fold with our fist press, knuckles right at that line and coming right down the middle of the back of the thigh. Technique is the same in terms of the feet, pushing off the toes. But then to let yourself down, let the weight off, drop your heel. Right? Don't leave yourself up the whole time. Your calf will get tight. Okay, and by the time we're at the end, it may be just the weight of your fist. There. Pivot 180 degrees. So right, the heel is in your palm. Don't grip this way, just have your palm there, and then push the heel out. And this is probably best if you roll up your sleeve. Put your elbow down right at the gluteal fold, right in the middle. And then sink. Then we're going to follow our own breathing to kind of pace this. Working straight down the middle of the back of the thigh. Basically, for the gluteal fold, which is just below the sit bone, we're going to come all the way to the middle of the popliteal fossa. What's that point? Wei Zhong, and that's bladder 54, standing up. What happens now? Yes, we're gonna squeeze and lift and rock the gastroc. Now this one's a little different. It's just down and back up. So we come all the way to the calcaneum, then turn around and head back up. Okay, so looks like she's cold. You want to go get her one of the bath blankets out of there and drape her? Anybody? Now we're gonna pick up the heel, fold the pillow out of the way, put the foot down, slide the pillow over, and re-step around the corner of the table. And if you need to, widen their leg a little bit, and we'll start our butterfly press just below the popliteal crease. Wrap your fingers around, not unlike the tricep squeeze and twist. So they're all the way around to the front, and they help support and brace. So at the top, it's the heels of your palm. As you get to the bottom, it's more your thenar eminence that you're pressing with. And the last press is right behind the malleoli. Jump back to the knee, thumbs find the dimples, press, then wing your elbows out to get into position 2, thumbs across the fibers of the gastroc, and we'll work down these 2 branches of the bladder channel, medial and lateral heads. When we run out of gastroc, we're on the soleus, but still have the Achilles between our thumbs. So there's space between our thumb tips all the way down on this. We started pretty wide, it's narrower at the bottom. But again, our last press will be right behind the malleoli. So bladder 60 on the outside, kidney 3 on the inside, and we go back to Wei Zhong, thumb over thumb, dominant thumb on top, and we'll come down between the 2 bellies and between the 2 previous lines, filling that gap that we left. Remember, just lever from your thumb joint, the base of your thumb. We don't need a lot of leverage here. And just follow the Achilles right on down till you hit the heel. Okay, then separate your thumbs and press the back of the calcaneum, the Achilles insertion, 2 presses there, then rock back, bring your left foot usually inside the table leg, right foot steps back, we're in the middle of the table, and you got to decide, actually we don't need to decide yet about the socks. We'll just start our 5 lines on the bottom of the foot. So at the top, the thumbs are parallel to one another, but as we go down, they kind of fan out across the ball, and we get right to the base of the toe where we did our claw press. Then back to the heel, thumb to side thumb again. So just like the shoulders, we're pushing off that back foot. But we're not as low as we were. Right to the base of each toe. And remember, we want to step rightward, medially, as we need to keep our line right in front of us. So this third pass should go right through bubbling spring. And the 5th line ending right at the base of the big toe. Everybody there? Good. Let's take the pillow out and just stash it under the table where we can get a hold of it again if we need to. Let's change feet. And as we do so, as we step back with the left foot, the left hand goes back to the left foot. And we're going to palm press the heel, the arch, ball and toes, then fist press. And then the third one, repeat one of those. So still using your legs. When we're finished there, we're stepping to our right. We're going to come all the way up to their waist. Hands in position on the sacrum. Let's rock. As soon as they're up to speed, we can slide that right foot back into colon rock light, just easy. So, and then transition pretty much right away into iliac rock. Just reconnecting everything on this side, slide up. And instead of lumbar rock, we go right into our sacrum press and rock. So it's right along the edge of the SI joint and then the edge of the sacrum. We get back, and it's just a simple down and up. Then the right foot goes back again, and we're into our lateral, our four lateral lines. Those gluteal attachments, and coming across all the vertical lines going down, but doing a good job of getting the glutes. And when we feel the trochanter, thumbs in a V. Left foot now walking down to the knee. Right down the IT band till we get to the knee, then slide the right foot in and start your duckbills. And the pattern here is up, down, up. Little finger, side of the hand gets to the gluteal fold, there's your turnaround spot. But just try to make it feel complete. Don't shortchange it at either end. Get a good grasp, but it's not pinchy, squeezy. This time we get to the gluteal fold, pivot headward, left hand stays down, right hand on top. Pushing off the left toes. Bringing your weight up to your shoulders and down into their thigh. And easing into the fossa. And back to the gluteal fold. With your fist. Presses. So remember, it's a loose fist. Fingers are out, not curled up. Inside. All the way to the fossa. Turn footward and heel in your palm. Turn it laterally, and then traction, then drop your elbow into position right at the gluteal fold, and sink. See if you can feel the hamstrings separate. That's perfect. And right down the middle. And I actually take pretty small steps there at the top. It feels good, and we don't want it to be over too soon. But once we pass about midpoint, it needs to start lightening up and aiming for Wei Zhong. Stand up, and we'll duckbill the calf. Right down to your feel bone, calcaneum, and then turn around, back up. So this time it's just down and up. Just 2 passes of this. And we don't have the pillow to worry about. We just step around the corner of the table, maybe straighten out their pant leg as necessary. We'll go right into our butterfly press. So here, your right leg should be on the outside of the table. Your left leg should be behind. That stance should let you work on pretty much anybody of any height. And gives you direct access. You're really looking right at their calf, and you're right over their calf. Okay, we're behind the malleoli, back to the knee. Thumbs find the dimples. Then pivot and start down with the thumb pads across the fibers. So use your chest, use your pecs, kind of squeezing that nice broad thumb pad. And we'll take these all the way to the points right behind the malleoli. And back to Wei Zhong, thumb on top of thumb. So top thumb doing the pressing, bottom thumb actually acting more like a buffer than helping. As you hit the Achilles, you can straighten up a little bit and maybe add a little more pressure. But sometimes the Achilles is still kind of tender, so keep it easy. And follow it right to the heel. Then rock forward, so you get a perpendicular press into the back of the heel, 2 presses for the insertion, then step back, bring your right foot around inside the table leg, maybe step back some more, and we'll start our 5 lines on the bottom of the foot. So it should be your left foot back, and that's the power for your press. Back to the heel, thumbs are right next to each other, parallel to each other initially. And the heel's small, so that makes sense. And they kind of fan out. So if your partner has socks on, you're just doing the best aim that you can to end up at the base of each toe. Doesn't have to be perfect because we got plenty of overlap. But that said, you still are trying to be as accurate and as consistent as you can be. Keep stepping laterally with that back foot to keep your line in line with your renmai. And feel like you're pushing your dantian toward your thumbs, and it's that pushes your thumbs into their feet. And the lines is all just a nice rhythm, and even in and out. We're not following their breathing, but it is kind of breath-like in that inhale and exhale are similar, same length. And so you could follow your own breathing, and you can you're working, you'll breathe a little faster. But we don't want it to feel hurried or rushed. So we get to the base of the big toe. Everybody there? Let's change feet, and the left hand will go back to the left foot, and we're going to palm press. Okay, and then fist press. And then what's the third pass going to be this time? The pinch along the lateral edge of the foot, bladder channel, and leads us to the little toe. So now here is a good place to see, we want their toes on the table, and they might be on the table, but they're right at the edge. So if they're right at the edge, let's have them scoot up a little bit, really get their toes on the table. And of course, you have another decision. You could take their socks off. Arista socks are too long. I'm not going to bother. That pinch led me to the little toe. So with socks on, I got to hook my index finger around and then line my thumb up along the axis of the toe. We're going to press and rotate to squiggle your way out to the toe pad, and then isolate the fourth toe, the gallbladder toe, then the third, second, and then on the big toe we're going to do 3 passes. So we'll start with the liver side, then we'll come down the middle, and then the spleen side. Okay, now you can change feet or not here, depending on what you want to do. We're going to palm press again. This is relatively brief, so it's not that important. And then fist press. But if you're tired in that stance, definitely change. What do we do the third time this time? Bubbling spring. So thumb press into bubbling spring. Your foot still back so you can get good pressure there. Then stepping up. That takes the pressure off, but we don't let go. Now your feet, shoulder width, your knees unlocked. Let's go inside, closing our eyes, and we'll focus on our dantian and our bubbling spring for just a sec. And then turn your attention to your thumbs and their bubbling spring. We're just feeling, listening, and pay attention to and pick up signs of the qi. This bubbling spring, Yongchuan is its name, is our portal, our connection to the earth, the terrestrial qi, which is the source of the yin. And we're going to follow that yin flow up. So just like you're a boat in the river, a raft on the river, you're going to flow up the yin channels to their lower dantian. And then we'll continue upward from the dantian to the top of their head. Okay, now that point at the top of the head is GB20. Baihui is its name. And that's their connection to the celestial realm and the celestial qi, which is yang in nature, and it flows down through their body. We're going to now ride the raft back down from Baihui to their lower dantian. And then from their dantian back to their feet, back to Yongchuan. So at the end of that, hopefully we've got a nice, even, balanced flow of yin and yang. Up and down, everything harmonized, and we can say goodbye and energetically disconnect first, And then as you open your eyes, you're going to physically release and step to your left quietly and place your right hand on their sacrum. You know, kind of watch their face, their eyes, and see when they come back around. It's perfectly okay for them to take a few moments to do that. If it takes too long, it seems like, to come around, I just pat them on the sacrum and see if that doesn't wake them up, and ask them to come into turtle position. Remembering to make sure that they take, or you help reposition their pillowcase, so they're on pillowcase, not vinyl. Meanwhile, and now if their sit bones don't touch their heels, you can think about putting the pillow in there. And otherwise, then your left hand is going to grab their shirt tail. Right hand's going to work, and I usually for the lumbars go underneath the shirt and stroke alongside the spine, fairly close to the spine. I'm kind of hugging the spinous processes. I'm in the Jaji Valley too, but I'm more thinking about the spinous processes. Then we'll come out and do the upper back. And then we're going to try to do the whole back. I'm going to roll that all the way up there. The whole length of the spine, from the sacrum to C7 several times. In the last one, we're going to step up and knead their neck. And so here's where we want to make sure that there's no concavity of the neck. If so, we'll just kind of push on the top of their head, get them more onto their hairline, which maybe was part of your initial instructions. Then 2 duck bills. We'll knead and pretty much fill the whole neck. Still, you can kind of move up and down a little bit. Just kind of keep it moving around. Then we're going to step to the top of the table and hook our fingers on the occiput. Rest your forearms on the table and really lay back here. You can go all the way just from the top of the table. You can lean on the table, then hook on and traction. And after a half a dozen of those, move up a little bit. There's another ridge just a thumb width higher up. The occipital ridge will do the same thing there. Just traction and release and re-grip and traction several times. Then stepping to your left again. We're wind up on their right, and we'll duck bill and knead the neck on this side, sort of taking care of all that head turning that we were doing. And of course the turtle position opens up the spine, the whole length of it, opens up their hip, their knees, their ankles, but it's not quite as extreme as Seiza. I'll finish this with kind of rolling, sliding and rolling the skin up, and especially right there along the base of the skull. You know, the hair really lets you slide pretty easily. Then left hand's going to slide down to their sacrum, right hand to their right shoulder. We'll ask them to sit up, please. And they do not need to stay in Seiza. They can if they want to. But you're going to talk to them and extract as much feedback as you can get. Remember, at the beginning, they're not too articulate. They're kind of sleepy, right? So don't have high expectations. Just kind of talk to each other for a little bit and ease into it and see what you can learn. So remember, we're trying to make our massage the best that we can make it. So anything we can learn, anything that will help that end is what we're shooting for.